Hello everyone. Now we will be looking at an activity of scribbling for our children. So scribbling is considered to be as one of the most important pre-writing skill. Now you could give them any crayon or you could give them any sketches to scribble. So as of now I'm using an oil pastel crayon. So what happens here is when children begin to scribble, they wouldn't be considering about the strokes. So the scribbling can be this way. The scribbling can be on continuous pattern. Sometimes they scribble here and there. So one important thing for all of us is all about to understand about how do they scribble and how much of pressure or what is the pencil grip that they are actually having it when they try to scribble. So the first important thing is we got to teach them the pencil grip, So you need to always hold both of your fingers and just tell them to do this multiple number of times, so they get the pressure, they get the grip. And once this is done is what you ask them to hold it. But usually children hold the crayon this way. This is considered to be as the hard grip, or they hold it within the thumb. So this is more difficult also, or they might hold it somewhere on top of it. So this is also not correct. So teaching them to hold the pencil or a crayon or a sketch is more important when we begin teaching them or introduce them towards writing. So this is the first activity that we would always be giving it to our toddlers. We analyze how do they scribble, what are the different strokes which gets involved into scribbling. And the second important thing is all about the amount of pressure. So some children, they trace it or they scribble very feebly, so the pressure, they do not apply a lot of pressure. And some children apply a lot of pressure and the impressions would be really thick. So this is also not correct. So you got to teach them the right amount of pressure that they put in when they are actually coloring or tracing or scribbling. This is most important and it's considered to be as the first important skill when it comes into pre-writing. The second thing what we would be moving on is all about our coloring, or I could also say it as scribbling. So most of the children, what they have or what they do is the moment that you ask them to color, they color here and there, or they color outside, or they wouldn't be coloring it in a proper way. So this is something that we will be looking into it. The next important thing about coloring is the usage of multiple strokes. So some children are not aware of, or most of the children are not aware of the correct coloring patterns. So they can have a mix of pattern, like a little bit of the right to left to right movement, and then they could actually color it, or it goes in different directions. So you saw that the coloring was not proper. So what we need to always introduce is any time that they color, always teach them to color from one end to another. So this is more important when we color. And children can always get back the moment that they see any color or any area which isn't colored. So they could quickly come back and color. But still, there could be certain times that we cannot avoid that they are coloring outside the image. So for that, we need to also be a little helping them in coloring. So what we could always do is so we need to also make sure. So what we could do is use your other finger, just position towards the end of it and start coloring it in a particular direction that you need it. So what happens by this, the child is not coloring it outside the image. So you could rotate it. So it becomes difficult for them to hold it this way. So the worksheet itself can be rotated. You could rotate the worksheet and put your hand, and you could ask them to color it. So this is one of the trick that they do a complete coloring inside. So we got to work on the directions. So what happens here is slowly we are trying to control the coloring aspects. That's more important. So we avoid scribbling, we introduce coloring to the fullest object, and we minimize the number of strokes or different patterns which gets involved into coloring. So this was the second exercise. And third exercise what we have here is now say for example, in case you have taught them everything, so you could ask the child now to color the image however that he needs it, so he could color the entire image the way that you've actually taught him. So Now without using the hand, now the child can actually go. So here is what we learn is like, beginning with which area and how do we do it. So here we go along with the picture. When we have circular surfaces, we go circular, we tilt our angles, we tilt our hand, so that we are going with the image. Now the child is also like having a lot of control on coloring. They have a very better hand-eye coordination, and you will also observe that the amount of the color which comes out of the picture will also be sequentially or substantially being reduced. So this is one of the next thing that we will be looking into it. The next activity what we have over here is all about filling in patterns. Now for this we can choose multiple colors, so I have chosen like yellow, then orange, then I could have my blue, and then I could have green. Now what we could always do is like, in case the children have got a better grip, so you could give them a pattern to trace it, like so now I'm giving them a pattern of straight lines, and the child is like adding the pattern like this. And then I could take another crayon, and then I could do a pattern of my horizontal lines, or sorry, the vertical lines. I could give them a pattern. Now you need not worry about whether they are actually coming out of the surface or not, but what we will have to be worrying is all about whether this line is straight. Now most of the toddlers, if they don't have a better hand grip, they wouldn't be able to draw a straight line, rather the line will be slightly crooked, so that's because they wouldn't have a better hand stability. Now we could also increase the patterns into a little bit more to add a little creativity into it, so the parent or the teacher could add some of the patterns, like which is in combination with multiple other kinds of strokes, and you could ask the child to color within that particular pattern. So you could also introduce them to draw these patterns on their own, or they could color them. So you could use different colors altogether and you could do it. So this is one of the things. And here is what, not only on filling up with lines and strokes like this, they could also draw some kind of pictures which gets related to all of that image, and then they could color the pictures. So basically, like, you give them a defined surface. So I've given them a circle, so you could also add multiple shapes like triangles, rectangles, squares, and all of it, and ask them to fill in a lot of this patterns. To add on to the next level of filling the pattern is using multiple colors onto the same images. Like as you saw, the first image already had these lines. Now I'm also adding another pattern. So it's like, so we added horizontal. Now we are trying to add vertical patterns, and then you could also fill in the patterns, or you could still add zigzag to the same patterns and to add on to different kinds of patterns. So here we are working on multiple patterns filled in, multiple patterns with different kinds of strokes and all of it. So this is also considered to be as one of the most important pre-writing skills that we do it in our toddler class. The next worksheet, what we will be doing is we would be coloring some of the pictures as in nature. Like we have a picture of a sun, then we have a picture of a cloud, and then we have a picture of a tree. Now what we have to ask questions to children, because by this they would have understood about the colors of a particular object. Like sun has to be yellow, clouds can be blue, or they can be green, or they could be slightly darker gray, and then the trees can be with different colors in case if they have different kinds of leaves. But we would not today be filling the tree with the green color, and then the stem of the tree has to be brown. So that means you're limiting the number of colors over here by not giving them the whole amount of colors. So I have used only colors like yellow, then blue, then green and brown, so which helps the child to not get confused of usage of different colors. So you could always relate it. Now to make it a little bit more convenient to all of them, what you could always give is like give them a hint of what this color or what that object can be. So the child will also be able to recognize with this particular thing, so they they get a hint. Okay, so I got to color this with yellow, and then the clouds with blue, and the trees with green, and then the stem with the brown color. So once we have these color codes, we start coloring it. Okay, so I begin with coloring it with green. So again, follow all the instructions. So you go by not to color outside the image. When there are curved surfaces, they could actually trace it down onto the third, and then they could start coloring it inside. So make sure that they color the entire image. So since this was marked with the yellow, so I tend to color with my yellow color, and then again we could also give them a hint of, okay, when this has the rays has to be colored with yellow, and then they could also color with the blue for all the clouds. So this is how you could slowly start to help them to color objects as per nature. So complete this activity with more lot of objects which is available from nature. Activity for this is like, so you give them a bigger image which has got a lot of detailing into it, and you do not give any color restrictions. You give them the entire palette of colors, so you give them the entire palette of colors, and the child can actually pick up any color which interests them. So you could say this is a beautiful butterfly, and you give them hints like butterflies can be blue, butterflies can be green, butterflies can be yellow, they can be pink, and whatever. And you could also say that some butterflies are very colorful, so you could use a lot of colors into it. So we could say that, so you could show, or you could do one of the worksheet like, I color this orange, I color the circle orange, I color the circle orange, and then you could go on saying, okay, so this goes as pink, and this can be pink, and this can be pink, and then we add a little bit more, like, so this area can be red, and this area can be blue. So you could add on to a lot of colors, and you could color the entire image, and you say that, the picture or the butterfly is going to be very, very beautiful because you have filled in with lots of colors. So this is about coloring a picture with multiple colors. Thank you. Please leave your feedback in the comment section and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you, everyone.